Welcome to the Big Bets on Campus podcast presented by BetMGM. I am your host, Kai McEwen, joined by the rest of the three-man weave crew, Jim Root and Matt Cox. Fellas, another week of college basketball. The Super Bowl is over. It is behind us. College basketball takes center stage, and we are excited for another great week of betting on college basketball. As we normally do, we're going to take you through our 6 sections on the podcast, starting with our live dog of the week section, our blowout city, our power games of the week, our mid-major games of the week, our trash man pick of the week, and finally a spotlight section, a dealer's choice section, if you will. Interesting one this week. We'll get there. But first, let's start with our live dog section, which people out there, you made a lot of cash, a lot of coin if you tailed the old weave last week, because all 4 of our official picks hit outright last week. Binghamton, Pepperdine, Loyola Marymount, and Monmouth all won outright as around 6 to 7 point dogs, all of them. So pretty good payday. Hey, if you parlayed them, you could be the newest Twitter sensation from the sportsbooks tweeting out their big parlays. You never know. But for this week, guys, let's start off with a couple games on Wednesday and Thursday, selections I've curated for the group here, considerations, and then we'll get to a couple of your suggestions as well. Starting with Xavier at Marquette on Wednesday. Xavier, a 6-point dog per KenPom. Now, I know Marquette, Jim, is a tough place to play, but Xavier's a tough team, and they don't often catch 6 points, especially in this year's Big East. Do you think they have a chance?
Nobody comes into the Fiserv. Kai, come on. Look what happened to Baylor a while back. No,
Yeah.
there's a chance, but no Fremantle is a problem. And Matthew, as you pointed out astutely in our internal group chat, Sule Boom might be a little bit limited here. Big time guard for Xavier. And if he is not effective, Xavier's not really effective. They kind of go as he goes. As much as I love my guy Nunji, my doppelganger, my 7-foot lookalike, I think this is going to be Marquette's game, and I'm not gonna do it. Can't pull the trigger here.
Yeah, and even if Boom, here comes the Boom, does not come to this game, Mr. McKeon, this screams over to me. Obviously, KenPom will have that priced in. It's currently projected at 168. My goodness. First matchup was not low scoring, but only played at 69 possessions and 156. I can't do math. Carry the one. Yeah.
That game died. It had 92 points at halftime.
It was like
and the final 10 minutes was like
keg, and it just right. Okay.
Yeah.
I like the over here. I think it'll probably be in the clouds, but I think this gives an absolute up and down. Xavier can't guard anybody on the perimeter. That's the problem. And Marquette is like as good as anyone in the country at beating you with all 5 guys from the perimeter. That's their whole MO.
Indeed, they are. A game here I do like, fellas, which I am going to take. Drake at Northern Iowa. Now, the Panthers have lost 5 straight, but they're tough at home. And, Matt, their last game against Drake, their only other game this season, it was a double OT loss at Drake. I think UNI returns the favor here, gets back on the winning path, and beats Drake on Wednesday.
I can't get there. I've been kind of out on this Northern Iowa team all year. I'm still stunned that they are sitting where they are in conference play. I guess they've dropped their last 5, right? 8-8, as you alluded to.
Yeah, their schedule's gotten a lot tougher in
a lot tougher.
Play.
It's a young team, Kai, and it's a team that I think has the hit a freshman wall written all over it. And I just think Drake's better, and I think they're a little bit pissed off about that that first go around. So I know they won that game double OT, but I think they're like, okay, we're not going to take this team lightly. We know we're the elder statesmen in the room, but it's still our in-state rival, and we're going to put the hurting on Jim. So I like Drake here. I'm sorry, lame.
I like Drake too. I wonder if they have just kind of righted the ship. At the beginning of the year, they were kind of the clear favorite. This is the best team in the Valley, and who's going to finish second. But man, last 2 games, they have been a juggernaut. Blew out Murray State by 24, Southern Illinois by 23. 2 teams that were like in the top half of the standings, kind of chasing Drake. And that really shows, I think, where the level has gotten to with them. They had Tucker DeVries miss the 1 game. Then they won 2 straight double overtime games, including that one Kai mentioned against Northern Iowa. And then the last 2 just really, really ripped off awesome performances. So I'm leaning Drake as well, Kai.
Interesting fact, in his 5 years, Darian DeVries has only swept Northern Iowa 1 time. That was in 2021. Every other year has been split. Maybe not that interesting, but I thought it was. Next game, St. Joe's at Duquesne. About an 8-point dog is the St. Joe's Hawks. And I tell you what, I'm taking this one as well. Why? St. Joe's has been playing very, very well recently. They're 7-2 in their last 9 games. But Jim, the question is Casper Klachick. Is he going to play for St. Joe's this game? He is quite important. He's missed the last few.
I'm in either way. I think even if Klachick's not out there, I like the way Joe's is trending. They've got a lot more playmaking this year. They seem a lot more cohesive too. Last year, it was very much just one man. Jordan Hall runs the show, and the other guys kind of have to exist around him, live in his orbit. This year, it's more democratic. It's more sorted out. Reynolds and Greer have become kind of the dual ball handlers. And I do like Duquesne, Matthew, a team that's actually playing fairly well also. But I think there's enough variance here. St. Joe's is trending up enough that I'll ride with Billy Lang. Maybe the last time I ever say that in my life.
Capital V variance, Jim. Haslametrics, great metric of consistency, Kai. Teams that perform similarly game to game versus team that are Jekyll and Hyde. Duquesne, 355th in consistency, which completely adds up to me, Jim. I thought they were going to be kind of a rocket ship once they got McGriff back, but then they've had some really odd losses, so many of which have not been very competitive. I kind of like the St. Joe's angle here. I don't like the St. Joe's team that much. I know they're playing better, but from a money line perspective, if you like St. Joe's, I think it's a pretty good wager just with how up and down this Dukes team is.
Yeah, their guard play, St. Joe's guard play can be very good when they are at their peak. On Thursday, guys, I have 3 more options for you. This one's a little tongue in cheek, but let's discuss Gonzaga at Loyola Marymount. LMU +6 home dogs. Who says no to a season sweep? Jim, you say no?
I tried to look up the last time a non-St. Mary's or BYU team swept Gonzaga, and the search said, "What are you doing? Go away!" Like, what do you really think this has happened, right? You moron? Yeah, I don't think it has.
Yeah.
So I don't know that I can get on board. LMU has been really, really feisty though, and they went at Gonzaga. Now they get them back home. They had the big come from behind victory against St. Mary's last Thursday. They're capable. The spread's only 6 though. Matt, I fear angry Gonzaga at this stage, also with a title in their sights. They're trying to catch St. Mary's for atop the WCC.
Yeah, I mean, LMU's been awesome. Like, they take away 2 games after the Pepperdine blowout. Well, coming out that 4-game win streak, like they've done really nothing wrong. But no, I'm not going to take this. I'm sorry. Gonzaga's going to win this game. There's no way they lose this game. I just don't. They don't lose this game.
LMU is the only team ever in the WCC to beat BYU, Gonzaga, and St. Mary's in the same year. There's only 7 teams that can really do that because the other 3 don't count, but still interesting. Next game here, the A-Sun has a 2-way tie right now at the top, which is a bit surprising. Liberty and Kennesaw State. Kennesaw State is hosting Liberty in this game. It's their only matchup of the season, and Kent State is a 5-point home dog. It's going to be a tough battle, Matthew, and I think we've said on this podcast before, A-Sun home is nuts this season. One of the best in the country in terms of home teams covering and winning outright. Do you like the Owls against the Flames?
Owls can shoot. Supposed to beat Liberty with the long ball, or so they say. Pack line defense here, that's how you soften it up. Yeah, I still watch Kennesaw make threes from 25 feet and out against my Indiana Hoosiers. This team can absolutely stroke it. Multiple guys that can make shots. Kai, you mentioned the home dominance of A-Sun teams, kind of a weird geographically placed conference. I don't think they beat Liberty, but man, I think it's awfully competitive here. Liberty's just such a tough team to fade.
I disavow this. I have Liberty to win the A-Sun futures, so I need my Flames to win this game. Have a little bit of a future cash wagered on that. Matt, you mentioned Kennesaw being able to shoot over the top. Well, Liberty can too. That's exactly what they want to do. 4th in the country in 3-point attempt rate. Kennesaw, pretty compact defense, more or less content to let you shoot over the top. I kind of think Liberty wins a shootout. They've got the best player on the floor in McGee, probably the player of the year in that conference. I can't get there, Kai, and maybe there's some personal bias in that, but I'm not going to officially register this one.
Kai, fun stat here.
Yes.
A-Sun, number 1 conference in 3-point attempt rate. Obviously, Liberty is a big part of that, but interesting that we always say, oh, the way to beat Liberty is you have to shoot threes against the pack line. It's like, well, they're in the conference that shoots the most, and they're actually the 11th of 32 conferences in 3-point percentage. Liberty's still dominating those people. So clearly they are immune to that stupid cliche narrative that I just spewed. Sorry.
There's more angles you have to take Liberty from. More swords in the barrel, if you will.
Peel back later.
Last option here for me, fellas, which I am taking as well. Western Kentucky +6 per KenPom at Charlotte on Thursday. Now they lost to Charlotte by 4. In the first game, lost by Charlotte by 4 in the first game. They have won 3 straight since then. And Matt, in that first matchup between Charlotte and Western Kentucky, Jamarian Sharp did not play. Obviously a pretty huge factor here. And Rick Stansbury we tend to like a lot more as a dog.
Yeah, it's a team that has a ton of talent and that I think is just engaged when they're playing talent that's of like or better. And they've also had a week off. They played last Thursday. That might matter at this point in the season where I think you're starting to feel some weary legs. The dog days of conference play have set in. So I kind of think they win this game. And it's annoying because as a team I was looking to back all year and I lost a lot of money early. I gave up on them too late. Maybe now I stubbornly come back in on the buy low bandwagon, Jimbo.
I definitely lean this way with you guys. WKU much better as a dog, as Kai said. It's just a total Stansbury tradition. The reason I'm not going to officially lock it in is because, hey, this is another pack line team in Charlotte, a guy off the Tony Bennett coaching tree, and WKU does not have Luke Frampton. He is out, I believe, torn ACL. He's done for the year. Best perimeter shooter by far on that roster. They're starting to get a little bit more from Dante Allen. He's a fully capable three-point shooter. Step in. I mean, formerly of Kentucky. I think a lot of people probably remember him from there. But with no Frampton, Kai, I'm not going to go all the way there and take it. I would definitely bet WKU to cover, though.
Love it. A couple more options, guys. On Thursday, possibly here. Jim, you want to cover these two?
Yeah, Southeastern Louisiana +8 at Northwestern State. Northwestern State's kind of Matt, I wonder where they rank in that consistency rating if you still have it up, because they've had some really awesome efforts, had some questionable losses as well. Talented team, basically. We call them Missouri State South because their coach was an assistant there and they brought a few transfers with them. So I'm tempted by Sela. And then I'm also going to take Delaware +7 at Towson. Kai, we kind of talked about last night in our group chat how Towson is starting to sink a little bit, just not up to the same standard they were last year. And Delaware getting a little bit healthier, got Jair Davis back last game. I think they've got a chance to win on the road at Towson. Matt, did you find us some data?
315th, Jimbo. So yes, they are not that consistent. They are a lot better at home. Kai, I think you mentioned this in Haslametric. God, what a great site. Great data guru. 289th in their away from home metrics. So it's a team that plays better at home, doesn't play as well on the road.
Unfortunately, Northwestern State is at home in that.
Is at home here. So that's why I disavow Jimbo's take here. Sorry.
They're also number 2 overall in the country in ATS record. Northwestern State, 17-7. Not a bad ATS team. I do like the Delaware play, though, Jim. Towson losing to Drexel and William & Mary back-to-back games. Drexel was shorthanded. It was on the road both games, but still, maybe a sign that Towson's just kind of fallen down the well here.
I will also mention William & Mary was super shorthanded too, missing like 2.5 starters. Yeah, Towson's really in trouble right now.
This is a problem. Yeah. Wow. Pat Scary, what are you doing, man? Get it together. All right, fellas, to recap, I'm taking Western Kentucky, St. Joe's, and Northern Iowa from the live dog section. Jim, who do you got?
Joining you with St. Joe's, and Delaware. Those are my 2 official ones. I'm not actually going to lock in Southeastern Louisiana.
And I'm only taking the tops because we stupidly beat our chest at the undefeated record last weekend. So I'm trying to hedge the inevitable pendulum swing right back to the nutsack here and the follow-up. So.
Yes, the old pendulum to the nutsack. Matthew Cox. All right. Next section, Blowout City. Hey, last week, did pretty well in this section, guys. We called 2 out of 3 blowouts correctly. Houston took down Tulsa by 38 points. Oh, my goodness. Just not a good matchup for Tulsa there. UCLA fell short. They beat the Beavers by 15. I don't think that covered the actual spread. It did push the KenPom spread we discussed. Half credit for us there, I guess. And then Arizona, they beat Cal by 23. No problem for the Wildcats. This week, guys, I got 1 game on Wednesday and 1 game on Thursday. Matt, on Wednesday, I'm going with Virginia. -16 per KenPom at Louisville. It just feels like a classic crock-pot city type of game against the Cardinals. We know Louisville's terrible this year. And they can't really shoot, and that's a problem against the pack line.
It's a major problem. At this point, it's like, how low can Louisville go? I mean, they can keep going lower for sure. It's just, I like your Thursday one more, Kai, so I'll holster my stronger takes until I endorse this next one. Jim, are you taking the Who's on the road?
Yeah, probably. I think Louisville's really bad, and they had their decent stretch where they got the win over Georgia Tech, and it was like, okay, hey, maybe they're trending up. Since then, not overly competitive, and that's just what Virginia does. They just slowly but surely destroy you, and that's a team, if you can't shoot over the top, you're in trouble, and Louisville can't shoot. It's L. Ellis or nobody, and I think they're going to have some real problems with that pack line.
Matt, on Thursday, the game you said you liked better, Hampton is going to Hofstra. Hofstra is going to be laying 20 per KenPom. It might even be higher in the actual market. Matt, Hofstra is 8-0 against the spread in their last 8 games. Yikes. Do they just keep on rolling here?
Yeah, because Hampton just played Saturday at Charleston. Actually, we're kind of competitive in that game by Hampton standards, and then they almost mounted an unreal comeback against Elon on Monday. So now it's their 3rd game already this week, and they have Drexel looming over the weekend. So sort of a weird spot here where I think they kind of exhausted their energy in those last 2 games, and I think Hofstra just puts them to bed real quickly here. And they roll over like, all right, you know what? That was a fun little 2-game stretch where we played better. Let's get ready for Drexel over the weekend, and they lose by 30.
Yeah, it feels like both Hofstra and Charleston are trending way up and as asserting their dominance before the conference tournament. Last couple of games for Charleston won by 36-13, 32-17. Hofstra, like you said, Kai, has been rolling against the number 2. I would lean towards the Pride there.
Worth noting, game 1, Hofstra led by as many as 19 points. They won by 16 on the road at Hampton. Seems like an okay bet going the other way. All right, fellas, power game of the week. Let's do it. 2 games on Wednesday, 1 game on Thursday. I'm starting the SEC. One of the best games of the season, I would say. It's Alabama at Tennessee. Tennessee -2 per KenPom. Might surprise some people out there, given Alabama has a big fat number 1 next to its name in the AP poll. But Jim, we don't care about the AP poll. And frankly, this spot is pretty huge for Tennessee, who's lost 3 out of 4, lost 2 straight. Who do you like in this game?
The line sleuths are going to be all over Tennessee here. Because what? The number 1 team is an underdog against a team that's lost 2 straight? Oh, that's impossible. So a lot of people, I think, will be betting Tennessee. I like Bama. The one thing that does scare me is the spot for Tennessee. Potential buy low, lost 2 straight buzzer beaters. I don't think that takes the wind out of their sails. I think that motivates them. The issue for them is injuries. If Josiah Jordan-James and Julian Phillips are both out, Matt, those are their like jacks of all trade, Swiss Army knife type players. Take both of them out of the lineup against Alabama, who has a billion of them. I think the Tide can wear them down with depth. I think they're a worthy number 1 team. And if you get the shorthanded Vols, I'm probably going to lean towards the Tide.
Yeah, part of me wants to take Tennessee here, but I think the injuries keeps me away, Jim. You're right. Like Josiah Jordan-James, they lost last game without him against Mizzou. All 3 of their other SEC losses, he was a non-factor. And I think he was hobbled in the Vanderbilt game and somewhat in the Florida game. I think he's so important. Like he's one of the best shooters. He's a defensive linebacker and so versatile. He's actually a really good passer too. Like this team doesn't really have a lot of creation. It's kind of the knock on them, right? They're overly stuck in the mud and how they like overly execute, but he's kind of a guy that can get in the lane and not like a breakdown off the dribble guy. He's a good passer. I just think he adds a lot to the table that this team badly needs. And you can just look at the splits with and without him. And Phillips, I mean, he's been an absolute freak this year too. Not touching Tennessee with 10-foot pole Kai if those guys are out. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, definitely a wait and see on the personnel there for me. If all healthy, I do lean towards Tennessee in this game. I think it's just a great spot.
I'll mention on the other side the personnel. Charles Bediako sustained a minor knee injury, they're saying, and he is day-to-day for Alabama. They've got a ton of depth. They'll play a lot more Clowney and Gurley in the paint. I think that's okay. But Bediako is a beast, and it would be a great option against Mr. Plavsic in the lane.
Yes, the rebounding, crashing of Tennessee. Next game on Wednesday, TCU at Iowa State. It's a Big 12 matchup. The Clones favored by 4 per KenPom at Hilton Arena. The Clones have lost 4 of 5 and actually just dropped a game at Hilton to Oklahoma State. A bit surprising. But Matt, TCU also has lost 3 straight, also 4 of 5. They've been missing Mike Miles, their point guard, quite dearly. There's a lot of tournament seed implications here with both teams kind of wavering, both in the middle 5, 4 seed, 6 seed conversation. And as a reminder, Iowa State beat TCU at TCU earlier this season, beat them by 2. It was a close game. Who do you like in this one?
Yeah, tough to back TCU with the injuries they're dealing with here. I can't believe they've actually shot worse from 3 in conference play than they did in non-conference. I think it was kind of like this team can't shoot, but they can't be a 27% three-point shooting team, can they? It's like, oh, well, no, they actually can. That's what they're shooting so far on a pretty hardy sample size. But Dixon, good coach, transition, get to the rim. Iowa State's tough to do that, though, against, man. I know even without Ward, they're still pretty formidable at the rim, and I would lean their way, Jim.
Yeah, the spot with the Clones is kind of concerning. It's hard to imagine them losing 2 straight at Hilton. It's just such a great atmosphere, gives them a big boost. But there's a chance Mike Miles returns here. He apparently looked really good in practice today, Tuesday, as we record this, and has been practicing a little bit. I think they're just trying to make sure he is fully healthy before they bring him back. They know they're going to make the tournament. They're going to have like somewhere between a 4 and a 6 seed, probably not worth rushing him back. But if he's good to go here, that's huge against the ball pressure of Iowa State, trying to force a bunch of turnovers while you bring back your best point guard. That's very significant. So Kai, if Miles is in, I might lean TCU, although there could be some rust for him and trying to get confidence back in that knee after the hyperextension.
Yeah, definitely. You never know if he's going to be fully 100% right out of the gate, if he's going to play full time. Yeah, this is a tough spread if it's 4. TCU's been scrappy without him, but gosh, hard to believe Iowa State dropping 2 straight at Hilton. I probably lean towards the Clones, gun to the head. Thursday, a Big Ten matchup, Purdue on the road at Maryland. Purdue -1, a road favorite here, Jim. Now, Maryland, the Terps, they've won 5 of 6. They're 10-4 against the spread at home this year. And Purdue's lost 2 of 3. Both games were on the road, clearly not as formidable as they are at Mackey Arena. Who do you like in this one?
Yeah, the first meeting, Maryland kind of gave them hell at Mackey Arena too. 3-point final, really low scoring, 58-55. Edey had a big game. What do you know? But Maryland did a nice job of negating pretty much everybody else. And that's what you have to do against Purdue. That's what Northwestern did. Second half against Northwestern, I believe Purdue was like 2 of 13 from 3 and had 12 turnovers, like just really, really bad. Matt, we talked early in the season, like these are still freshman guards playing road games in Big Ten environments. And while we like Smith and Lawyer, they were poor against Northwestern. And if this is going to be as hostile as any environment in the Big Ten, Maryland's been great there. I think I'm probably leaning towards Purdue, but I am spooked by the potential for a big Maryland effort, and so I'm going to sit this one out.
Yeah, I mean, all Maryland's done is won and cover at home. They're sort of the beacon of this dominant home ATS streak that all the Big Ten teams are on. Just beat Penn State. They squeaked out a cover against Penn State. It wasn't exactly a dominating performance, but Indiana before that by 11, Nebraska by 19, Wisconsin by 18, Michigan by 16, Ohio State by 7, back when Ohio State wasn't a complete dumpster. So, I mean, yeah, fade the Terps at home at your own risk. I do fear for Purdue because while they can dominate the lane, there is that kind of chess match with the space and versatility that Maryland offers on the other end. And I think we're starting to see the vulnerability and mortalness, if that's a word, of Purdue's guards, Kai. I just think that, yeah, while I like the freshmen, Smith and Lawyer, they've been really solid. They were never that heralded as like dominant, stars right away. They've just been kind of uplifted by Edey's gravitational pull inside, and we're starting to see maybe some cracks emerge. That's my worry.
Oh, I love Smith and Lawyer. I think they're awesome. Certainly prone to some mistakes, as most freshmen are, but for the most part, they've been awesome this season. Beyond their years, I would say on the court. I think Edey's going to smash Maryland inside. He did the first game, 24 and 16. I mean, he's been doing that against everybody, and it was a close game. That first game, the shooting was disgusting. Maryland 3 for 21 from 3, Purdue 2 for 13. Hopefully we get a bit more pleasing aesthetic game in this one. I lean towards Purdue despite Maryland at home. I think they're a lot better team. I think they get off the schneid here. Mid-major games of the week. Well, we talked Gonzaga, LMU a little bit. We talked Liberty, Kennesaw a little bit. Let's talk about 3 other games really quick here. On Wednesday, in the Big West, UC Irvine goes to UC Santa Barbara. The Babs, the Gauchos, favored by 3 per KenPom. Matt, both these teams are top 100 right now in KenPom. They're the class of the Big West every single season. Santa Barbara won game 1 by 8 points at UCI. What do you think about this?
I'm just looking at the return of Kai. Say his name for us, please, in your loving German accent.
Bernd Leuchten.
He's been back for 2 games, played only 18 and 12 minutes respectively, but 10 points in 12 minutes, 9 points in 18 minutes. He matters quite a bit. I know they squeaked by Cal Poly, but I think they looked like the dominant team to follow up in his second game back. I think he's the key in this one. I like the Anteaters. And we always said that there's a rule that we told ourselves. I know you've abandoned this rule, but I stick to it. When UC Irvine plays UC Santa Barbara, I always take Irvine. There was that 1 year last season where there's an exception to that rule, but I generally trust Russell Turner more than I trust Joe Pasternak. So there it is.
The exception is carried into this year, though. UC Santa Barbara won by 8 at Irvine on the road. Mr. Leuchten did not play in that game, and neither did Matt, your boy, Josh Pierre-Louis for Santa Barbara. So 2 key guys missing from that one. This is a blowout in Santa Barbara. They're advertising there's going to be 1,000 blue shirts for students. Like they are playing up the nature of this game as they should. It's basically for the title. Santa Barbara wins, they'll really be the prohibitive favorite. 2 games up on Irvine with a sweep over them, looking like the class of that conference. That does make me a little concerned. I don't know if they're good enough to run away with this league, but Kai dueling the Gauchos should be a half-court game, which suits them because they don't have a lot of depth, UCSB, but their starting 5 is the best in the league. And as long as you don't get a super hot shooting game from Irvine, which they have been prone to do this year, I like the Gauchos.
I like the Gauchos as well. And the wise words of Tobias Funke, I blew myself. I blew out
yourself
in Barbara. Next game, SoCon, UNC Greensboro at Samford. Samford -1 here. Both teams are tied right now in first place with Furman at 12-2 atop the SoCon gym. Maybe a little bit surprising, especially Samford. And Greensboro's been excellent as of late. Do you have a preference in this game?
I think I lean Greensboro. I know they're on the road, but Samford hasn't been the same kind of team I expected them to be. I thought they'd be up and down, use their depth, play through Quez Glover now that he's back, big-time transfer formerly of Florida. He was a prolific scorer last year. Then they added Parham from Georgia Tech. It's like, okay, yeah, this team is just going to be lethal offensively. And while they're not playing that fast. Defensively, they've slowed things down a bit, mixed in some zones because I don't think they're very good on the ball with Parham and Glover, 2 really small guards. And Greensboro's defense is so good in the half court. So, Matt, if this game is actually a little bit slower, it really, really favors Greensboro and their physicality. The Langleys have both been playing well in the backcourt. So I think I like the Spartans on the road.
I don't like fading Samford at home, one of the better home court environments in the country, but their home dominance hasn't really been all that jaw-dropping. I mean, they squeaked by Citadel by 6. They beat East Tennessee State, who is, I don't know, I guess that was an okay win by 11. So I guess I shouldn't be as afraid to back UNC Greensboro on the road, and I do think that physicality will travel well against Samford, who has been playing a bigger, more physical lineup. Jim, you mentioned not playing that fast, not all guard and Parham and Glover oriented. They actually have some legit size. So yeah, I think Greensboro matches up with them. I think they actually seal this one on the road. Kai, in this race in the SoCon gets a little more dicey by the day, although I think Furman's still the top dog in this league.
Yeah, Greensboro's defense has been the best in the SoCon. #1 in turnover rate, #1 in effective field goal percentage, #1 in 3-point and 2-point percentage, #1 in steal rate, and #1 in the best stat of all, free throw percentage defense. Yep, that's right. They're really good at making teams miss from the free throw line. I like the Spartans as well. Yeah.
Often overlooked part of the game.
I'm skipping ahead real quick to Friday because I do want to talk about this Ivy matchup, which is very important for the Ivy tournament because the Ivy tournament allows only 4 teams to play. Both these teams safely in there right now. Penn is Yale at Penn. Yale -2 on the road at Penn, Jim. Penn is only 1 game back of first place right now. Yale is tied in first with Princeton. Penn has won 5 straight. They're finally playing up to expectations. I think a lot of us thought they'd win this league this season, but Yale did win game 1 by 7 at home. What do you see in this game?
Yeah, Kai, I have a Penn to win the Ivy future that I had buried. Thought it was dead and gone a couple weeks ago, but now they've battled back within the game. But the margins are so thin in this league that they're also only a game up in staying in the Ivy playoff. 6 teams clustered between 7-3 and 5-5 in this league. And you need to get in that top 4 to make the postseason event. It's an interesting matchup, Matt. I feel like Yale can bully inside. Their big guys are really, really good. The Jarvis, Noling group, there's shot blockers, there's physicality, a bunch of lefties. It's almost like harder to match up with because they're so disorienting with that. But Penn has the best player on the floor. Dingle is fantastic, 20-point a game scorer. And I actually kind of like their complementary weapons as well. George Smith's pretty solid. Jonah Charles, a nice shooter. They're healthier than they've been in the past. So I'm going to lean towards Penn, but I don't feel confident about it, and I will not be betting it.
Yeah, there's definitely something to the fact that Jordan Dingle's been playing his best ball late when they've had a couple of lulls in the schedule where he's had time to rest. They had a week off between Cornell and Harvard last game, and Dingle went bananas against Harvard. I think you're trying to catch Penn on the first game of the back-to-back spots. That's my stupid, sneaky Penn angle because they have so many injuries. Now getting healthier, I think that helps him here. Again, that kind of maybe potential revenge angle after they lost at Yale, and obviously with the motivation you guys talked about. I do like Penn. The red and blue, baby.
Yep, leaning Penn as well here, folks. Yeah, go red and blue. Go red and blue. All right, on to the trash man pick of the week, guys. I think I found a pretty good one here. It's in the Big West. We go back to the Big West. Cal State Bakersfield at Cal Poly. Cal Poly -2 per KenPom. Offensive average possession length. How fast teams play on the offensive end. Bakersfield is 359th in the country, aka the fifth slowest team in the land, fourth slowest team, excuse me. Cal Poly 328th in that same stat. They also play slow. Offensively, in terms of efficiency, Bakersfield 322nd, Cal Poly 349th. It's two slow teams. It's two bad offenses, Matt. The projected total is 118. This qualifies as a trash man pick of the week. Who you got?
Or does it? Look at Cal State Bakersfield's last two games. They exploded for 1.18 points per possession against Cal State Northridge 2 games ago, and then they put up 69. Ooh.
Nice.
And a loss to Long Beach State. No, in all seriousness, this should be gross. I don't really understand how Cal State Bakersfield scored in those games. I've watched them play a couple times this year. It's the most it sets basketball back decades. So yeah, I'm not watching this game. I kind of think Bakersfield actually wins this one. So
I will be betting the under, Kai. I think this is a great under game. Both teams, like you said, slower offensively than they are defensively, and you can control that more, and way better defensively than they are offensively. I think that all kind of manifests into a gross under, inefficient and slow game. Perfect for a trash man pick of the week.
Game one played 61 possessions and had 112 points. So I would say you're on the right track there, Jim, with the under.
Beautiful. Love
Yikes.
it. Love to hear that.
All right, guys, spotlight section. We're going to talk about the two blue bloods that are struggling because everyone is talking about this in the public media space. So we should get our own takes in here, our own cracks at it. I'm calling it the bubble bloods. What's the approach going forward for these two teams from a betting perspective? You have North Carolina and Kentucky. Both teams right now are 11 seeds per bracket matrix. Kentucky is the last team in. UNC is the fourth to last team in. Now, fielding the 68, a team of very good bracketologists, has Kentucky out of the field currently and UNC playing in Dayton. So these two teams are very much in danger of missing the dance. Could be almost inconceivable. Both teams are really poor this season against the spread. UNC, only 12 teams are worse against the number this year. They're 8-16, 1-5 against the spread their last 6. Kentucky 10-15 against the spread. They had a nice run of covers, but just 2-3 last 5, and they're hurt. CJ Fredericks, Seville Wheeler, both kind of dealing with injuries. Jim, both teams have quite a bit of opportunities remaining in terms of Q1, Q2 games. Kentucky a lot more in the SEC. What is your approach going forward with them from a betting perspective? Keep fading? Bet on? What do you think?
Mostly fade. How the hell are they going to win a Q1 game? These two combined are 1-16 against
Amazing.
Q1 competition.
Wow.
UNC 0-9, Kentucky 1-7. For what they brought back from, Kentucky was a 2 seed last year, brought back the player of the year, and UNC brought back 4 starters, player of the year, and they might not make the field. UNC brings back 4 starters from a national finalist and might not make the field. It's wild.
Wow.
Kai, I'm especially circling the road spots for UNC to fade them. They're 1-6 against the spread on the road. They are joyless watching them play basketball. Yes. They had a little bit of fun against Clemson. You could see like a little bit of spirit to them, but they don't seem to love each other. Baycott looks just so upset that he returned to school this year. He loves UNC, but like he's playing with these guys that just jack terrible threes, not getting touches unless he chases down an offensive rebound. It just feels like they had a players only meeting or something before Clemson, figured something out, and then it just immediately died, turned around on a Monday and couldn't play against Miami. So yeah, Matt, I'm looking more to fade UNC, especially that at NC State game. I don't think they compete on the road. They're just a terrible road team.
Yeah, I think I'm more in like put pedal to metal on fade UNC, where I'm like kind of easing into the gas pedal on fading Kentucky. I wish as a bettor I had Caleb Love's short-term memory and just uninhibited confidence where, you missed 7 in a row and you're coming down and firing the next shot, the next open look you get. I wish I had that. Unfortunately for UNC,
how much blame do we place on Hubert for allowing him to do that?
A lot of blame. He's not a good coach.
Yeah. I agree with Kai. I think he's, I won't say he's an outright bad coach. I don't think he's a great coach though. Yeah.
When Baycott doesn't touch the ball for
right, I know.
multiple possessions in a row in crunch time, that's a problem, in my opinion. It's a coach problem.
My theory is that he's just trying to really be the Caleb's my guy and go to bat for his guy and have his players back and let him play how he is wired to play. But that's just at the expense of your team's actual best player, which is Armando Bacot. So,
Yes.
yeah, I'm looking to fade. I mean, don't we all agree this is going to find out this will wind up in a both teams are in Dayton because that just makes the most sense for the ratings and money perspective. And
it would be good for the tournament if both teams made. Yeah,
I hate that I admit it, but yeah, I agree. I want to see both teams.
I would
let them play
if they played each other.
CBS home, but yeah, right.
Let them play each other exactly, and then one of them teams makes the Sweet 16 or the Elite Eight, and there's a whole narrative on that as well.
But only if my Owls and only if my Cougars are in the field. So yes. I don't want them to take those spots. So that's my
Kai, it would be a Q1 game for both of them if they played a neutral site against each other. They're both in the top 50 of the net.
True.
I don't know what would happen there. That's like how does a stoppable force versus a movable object work out?
It's a good question. Maybe they both just quit. They forfeit the game. So going forward, UNC 3 total Q1/Q2 games remaining. Kentucky has 5 of them. Jim, real quick, do they make the field? Yes or no? Both teams.
I don't think UNC does. I think Kentucky finds a way in. The fact that they won at Tennessee is enough of it's capable where I think they can win down the stretch a little bit, some of these games, and manage their way in. I just haven't seen it from UNC. Like 0-9 versus Q1 competition, I think you've got to get one, and that would require beating Virginia at home, and I'm not sure they can do that. Or like I said, that at NC State game.
At NC State, yep.
Yeah, I don't think UNC is going to get there. Kentucky with those 5 chances, maybe you get Wheeler and Frederick healthy and you steal 2 of those. And I think that'd be enough for a Big Blue Nation. But Matt, your Dookie rivals may be on the outside looking in.
And that makes me very happy. I feel like they're going to win at NC State. Like this is the one where it's like, come on, NC State, this is it. Just finish it, seal the deal, put the nail in the coffin. And that's the game where Caleb Love has the Clemson-esque out of body 7 of 11 from 3. Davis is like 4 of 10 from 3. Baycott gets 20 and 12, and they find a way to win. And they squeak in, and there we see him in Dayton.
Well said. All right, fellas, that does it for our BBOC podcast. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you to BetMGM. We will see you next week. Same day, same time. Good luck with your wagers.